So, regular listeners know that we have covered the ongoing fast food workers' strikes a good deal here on the show. Great groups like Fast Food Forward, like Fight for 15. We're actually going to be discussing a new report on the insane amount of fast food CEO pay later on in the show with Zoe Carpenter and the cost of the low wages to taxpayers. But Josh Idelson over at Salon, a friend of the show, actually has a report on a couple of updates when it comes to the fight for fast food worker justice. The first is that next week on May the 15th, there will be the largest organized fast food worker strike in our country's history. There will be fast food worker strikes in 150 U.S. cities. Pretty awesome, right? 150 U.S. cities. Those cities include Philadelphia, Miami, Orlando, St. Louis, Kansas City, Milwaukee, Oakland, Detroit, Chicago, Los Angeles, Boston, New York City, and more. Those were just a few. Again, there's 150. Pretty awesome, right? 150 U.S. cities where these strikes are going to be happening. But that's not all. That would be great. That would be huge news, well worthy of our attention and praise. But that's not it, actually. So realizing that this is not just a problem in the United States. Low wages for workers is not just a problem here in the U.S. There will also be coordinated international fast food worker strikes in 30 countries. You heard me right, 30 countries. There will be actions in Karachi, in Casablanca, in London, in Sao Paulo, in Dublin, in Bangkok, in Buenos Aires, in Geneva, in San Salvador, in India, in Indonesia, in Nigeria, in South Africa, in Japan, in New Zealand, in the Philippines, in Belgium, in Italy, in Rome, Milan, and Venice. How cool is that? How really unbelievably cool is that? Again, it's one of these things where you saw it with the uprisings that happened all over the Middle East. You saw it with the Occupy movement that happened all over the world. Workers get this. Normal people understand this. People know that workers should be paid a living wage wherever they live. They realize that most people are being screwed over by the 1%. So if you happen to live in a city where a strike is happening, for the love of God, you know you should show up for this. You know you should show up to these protests and have these workers' backs. Because the truth is, the ones I've gone to before, when these workers actually go out on a strike, they actually can face a lot of retaliation. They can lose their jobs. Even though it's illegal, it actually happens quite a good deal where these managers of these stores will take it out on them for these workers for exercising their right to strike. But what's really cool is how much this movement has grown and continues to grow. So much so that it turns out that the fast food companies and the CEOs at those companies, they're noticing. They actually are noticing. Josh Idelson actually had another report up at Salon that found, quote, the National Restaurant Association, the world's largest fast food service trade association, warns of growing traction for, quote, rent-a-mob fast food protests, describes closely monitoring social media for any plans or signs of activity, and compiles news about an activist antagonist book signings and Wikipedia profile, end quote. So, you know what this means? It means that they've noticed. They've noticed, and workers, you have their attention. And you know what? They're scared. They wouldn't be spending all this time and this money to monitor you if they weren't scared. So what exactly is the National Restaurant Association? It's the other NRA. Both are evil, but this is the one we're talking about. The NRA is the National Restaurant Association, not the arms cartel NRA. So reading from Salon again, quote, the NRA claims a staff of more than 750 people and a membership of nearly 500,000 businesses. The NRA for decades has helped defeat attempts to raise the current $2.13 minimum for tipped workers, including in the mid-90s, under the leadership of then CEO Herman Cain. End quote. Yep, so you get it, right? These are bad guys. These are the bad guys doing everything they can to stop minimum wage increases, trying to stop a living wage, trying to stop unions, trying to stop their workers from organizing. And They're worried. Right now, they are worried, and they should be. So the point now, folks, is we need to give them a reason to be even more worried, to be even more scared. So if you can make it out on May the 15th, join one of the protests in over 150 U.S. cities, in over 30 countries. You can find out more about the protest that happened on May 15th at fastfoodforward.org. We'll be right back.